Can you hear me now? Okay. So I'm sorry, I just turned the comments on. So someone let me know if that helped the audio. I apologize. You're right, I did not see it. Now you can hear me. Thank you so much, Kathy. Sorry, guys. All right, so let's go back to actually putting this piece for inside. And so I want to make this first one is going to go just across the whole card on the inside. So at the 5.5. So I've got that. I'm going to just cut there. And then actually, because I've got two different cards, I'm going to cut this again so that the two cards will each have a strip. It'll just be thinner. All right. So I have one for one card and we have one for the other card. And then this last piece is going to be for the next card we make off of here. Kathy, I did see that there's been no audio since I started. Thank you so much. I'll have to figure out what to do about that later. I'm just glad you guys told me. Today's the third day with this new software, and I thought I had it figured out. I must have hit the wrong button and didn't realize it. All right, so now I'm just centering this, and the measurements for this will be, in the tutorial. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue this onto the white. Okay. And then I want to actually use dimensionals to put this on the front of the card. All right. Just pop these off of here. So what you couldn't hear at the beginning is this is the March 2024 Memorable Meadows Kit. And I'm going to take what are the parts and pieces of 9 different cards and show you how I'm going to actually make 9 cards out of 3 cards, but 3 times over ends up being the 27 cards. So this really will take care a lot of your greeting card needs, right? All right, and then just on the inside, I'm going to just adhere this little piece of what would be a scrap and not waste that. All right, whoops. There we go. Little extra glue. If it stays sticky, I'll use my gum eraser that I have to take that off. But anyway, so that adds something. And now you can put another sentiment in there if you want, but you're going to get 2 of these cards. But I'm going to save the time and just make the one of that. But let's make the second card that comes out of this first project kit card. So we have this front. Now I'm going to use a card base. This is a regular 5.5 this way by 8.5 with 4.25 to the score line. Once again, I said fresh freesia. Okay. And then I'm going to take the part that I cut off that card front, and I'm going to line it up at the top here and leave this area open. Oh, and you know what? I'm going to stamp before I glue anything down. And this time I want to use Gorgeous Grape to do my stamping. And I'm going to set this on here, but not glue it down so that I have my marker kind of to where do I want to put my sentiment, right? So we'll open this up. And I know my screen is a narrow band right now, and I have to figure out how to make it larger. So I apologize for that too. It's one of those growing pains that I'm experiencing. You might be able to do something on your screen to actually make it larger. So if you can do that, you know, go ahead and maybe that will help what you're seeing. I'll figure out, I did the up close so you can see more detail, but it does make the desktop portion of what you're able to see very small. So once again, another thing I'm learning here. All right, so then I just want to do, my sentiment is just one line, and I want to put it off center at the base of this card. And there we go with You've Been on My Mind. Just going to close that up quick. All right, and then I can glue this down. Yes, technology is wonderful, but I'll get it going and it's going to be a lot better in the end and more people able to see what we're doing here. But yeah, like I said, growing pains. And yeah, I'm used to being able to call for some tech support. Guess what? That's me. Oh well. Okay, there's our front of our card. Now I'm going to just, for the inside of the card, I'm going to glue this part on the inside so that we don't waste it. There we go. And now I'm going to just snip that. And glue that on the inside. Okay, so the inside of the card and the outside. So you get one of these and two of this one out of the first card that I shared with you. Okay, so that's our first three cards for tonight. And once again, you times three, you would get 3 of these and 6 of these to make 9 out of that one card. Okay, so we'll just set those off to the side. And let's go to the second one. So we're going to project 2 in here, and I'll show you what the project card would look like and then what we're going to do with it. So the project card for this one is to have this card base, which, like I said, I'm going to be cutting this up. And then a larger piece of the purple vellum is to go on here. And then another piece of a balsam wood die cut. And then they provide a sentiment label for us to put heartfelt thanks on here. I think they have this sticking out just a little bit more. There we go. So that would be the kit card as it's designed. And there are 3 of them. Okay. And I'm actually going to make 2 different cards out of this. And so let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to just set those parts and pieces aside, and we're going to cut up this piece now. I just want to double check my measurements here. So the first thing we're going to do is get out our paper trimmer again. And this card front is actually going to be maintained at, let's see here, we're going to do 4 by 5 1/4. So 4 inches. Cut that. Okay. And then we're going to make this 5 1/4. Oops, I want to take just a little bit off the sky here. I don't want to lose any of the path. And let's see. Seeing the measurements on that side of my trimmer don't work, so you'll have to trust that I am cutting this at 5 1/4. Okay, so we have this cut off, and we do have just a little scrap here that I'm not going to be using. All right, and now we're going to take the second part, the back side of this card, and we're actually going to cut this up to be, we're going to leave this at 5 1/2 as far as the height of the card. And I'm going to cut this at 1 inch. Okay, and then I'm going to cut another 1 inch. And then I'm going to cut 2 1/4. So this, now I have to turn it around. 2 1/4 inches, which is basically the rest of the back of this card, minus what I did to make the other card front a little smaller. So we've got this piece. Okay, now the last 3 pieces that I cut are going to be on our second card. So we're going to make the first of 2 cards. For this project card. Okay, so now I'm just going to bring in Gorgeous Grape, and I'm actually going to just fold this with my bone folder. And I'm just going to actually glue this right to the front of the card base. So this is the regular sized medium envelope card. So what I'm doing is just literally putting a Gorgeous Grape frame around the card base that they provided. But I, by doing that trimming, I'm going to be able to use the back of this card base to make a fun fold card. So we've got that as our card front. And then on the inside, I'm just going to put in four by 5 1/4 basic white so that you can write a note. And in this card's, I decided not to use any sentiments on this one because I'm actually going to end up with 3 of these cards. I could put this together like a little set of note cards for anybody to write little notes on, or I can use them just to write a note on because they're so gorgeous. This could also be a sympathy card, and just don't put a sentiment for sympathy on the front of it. Okay, so that's one part of that. So the second part of this card that I'm going to make a fun fold, a very easy fun fold, is I'm also going to use a Gorgeous Grape as my background. And I did the same thing with a different folder. I used the Tasteful Texture embossing folder to emboss just the front of the card and not the back. So if I put it up a little further, you can probably see the embossing on there, okay? And then I'm gonna just go ahead and use my score line to make the card base. And then I also put a score line at, I believe this is, let's see here, scored it at 4 1/4, and I think this is, well, just measure it. Oops, can't measure it with the bone folder. I also put a score line at 1 1/4. So I'm just going to fold that backwards, back onto itself here on the front of the card. Hi, Mary Ellen. Hi, Joy. Nice to see you. Donna, can you move your headshot to the top corner? I don't know if I can. Just let me see if I can get rid of it altogether. No. The one thing I haven't been able to do is do that yet. I'm sorry. That would help, wouldn't it? When I do my programming and try to figure this out during the next week, I will keep that in mind. Thank you for that suggestion. Hi, Geraldine. Okay, so let's put this together, and real easy here with the different pieces that we have now, right? So let's do this. Let's go ahead, and the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to glue down my front flap here. Okay, so just press that together and give it a minute to adhere. All right. And then I'm actually going to place the 2 1-inch pieces that I cut off the card base on the back, right? And I left them so they go to, from top to bottom on here. If you like to frame it out a little more, you could take a 1/4 inch, off your strip before you glue it down. And then it would look like it's framed on there. I just kind of like this look tonight. Each of these templates for these different fun folds can always be a little modified. And this one, I'm just centering them within that 1 1/4 inch because these are 3/4 inch strips. Okay. And then I'm actually decided that this time, now sometimes I could even cut this a little smaller and have it be a 3-panel across this way. You can leave this unglued and put this right in the center so that you see a little bit of it. I'm deciding to put it on the inside of the card. Okay, and once again, I did not cut it down to frame it in this panel, but you could do that. So I'm just going to center this right into this panel. And because I embossed the other side, there is a little embossing strip on each side here. And now I took a piece of basic white, and this is 2 3/4 by 5 1/4. So this one I am going to make it look a little framed. For being able to write in the card. Before I press down really hard, I'm going to look and make sure I'm covering up that white. So I have it, in the right place. Because you wouldn't want to see a little white border. That wouldn't look good. Okay. And then with this card front, I do want to add a sentiment. So I decided to just take a little circle. I believe this is 2 1/4 inch circle. And I am going to do heartfelt thanks on here, and I'm going to do this in Gorgeous Grape on that fresh freesia again. And These are photopolymer stamps, so using your Pierce mat, a lot of times sentiments will be okay if you don't have the Pierce mat, but if you have a solid image, you want to make sure you use it. But I just wanted to make sure to remind you about that, so that's why I pulled out the Pierce mat. And then I'm just going to center this on my punched out circle. There you go. And then in light of this kind of having different folds, I am going to just glue this down flat. You could pop it up if you want, but I kind of look at how many folds do I have and trying to make sure there's not going to be an issue with the post office, right? So we have our heartfelt thanks, and I'm going to kind of center it on here, a little bit higher than the center of the card. And we've got a really nice, very simple, fun fold design that just adds interest. You could add a ribbon on here. You can add gems to just to bling it up a little bit, but very simple and repeatable card design for you. Okay, so out of that one card, we got 2. So once again, with 3 different cards of this would end up being 6 cards. Okay, so let's set those to the side. And let's look at the third card project that's a part of this. And let me show you what that one looks like. We'll keep that off to the side, see if I can't do something more up in this corner. So this one has another size of the purple vellum. And they kind of have you setting it in the middle of the card, and then another balsam wood die cut of the tree, and then another sentiment label that they've provided. So this is how that card would look once you stamp the sentiment, okay? But once again, we'll take those off to the side. And this one I'm actually going to cut into 4 pieces, okay? So let's go ahead and get the trimmer out and do that. So we're actually going to cut this into 4 equal pieces, and I'm going to leave them at 5.5 inches tall, which is the, the vertical. And then I'm going to cut them at 2 1/8, because if you'll recall, this is 4 1/4 across. So we'll do 2 1/8. So we'll just start on this side here and do 2 1/8. So 2 1/8 is right on the 2 and then going over 2 small marks. So it's between 2 inches and 2 1/4. And I'll just cut that first strip. We'll set it to the side. And now this next one should actually be right on the score line. So we'll go 2 and slide over those 2 little tick marks and right on the score line and cut our second panel. Now we'll pick this up, and once again, same thing, 2 1/8. And that'll make our last 2 1/8 inch panels. Okay, so we have 4 panels. So we're going to get 4 cards out of this one card. And once again, I decided I really liked using these embossing folders to make my card bases look better. And this is one of 2 that come together in Meadow Moments. So this one is flowers and butterflies. So I decided to do Highland Heather with this one. So let's just go ahead and we'll make one of these, because otherwise this is just the same card repeated 4 times. But now, because this was the smaller embossing folder, now this one will fit in the mini cut and emboss machine. It only does a partial portion of the front of the card. But, you know, no worries. I'm just going to cover that part up with the panel. And I also kind of liked that it left a little ridge open here so I could see the purple on this side. If you decided to, you could push this all the way over, but I liked it having just that little border. So I'm going to just go ahead and attach this with the glue. Okay, and now I like using glue when I'm putting things on embossed card fronts. The glue goes down in all the little ridges and really holds it well. Okay, and then I'm just going to, one of the punches, I wish I knew the name of this one. It's not that there's a cloud punch that looks very similar to this, but it's more uneven. This label punch is all equidistant as you go around. So that's how you'll know it's not the cloud punch, it's the other one. And I decided to use light blue so it looked like the sky for this one. And then I wanted to get out the garden green here. Since it was the ink that was provided in the stamp set, I thought we'd get a peek at how that looks. And I'm just going to set this on here, and we're going to use the saying that says, it's the little things that matter. So I'll ink this up, and then to make this straight, just centering this. Now, you know, there's two ways to do this, right? You can punch out all of your sentiment labels and then stamp on them, or you can stamp these up on a piece of the balmy blue cardstock and then punch them out one after another. It depends if you think you're better at lining it up when you're stamping, or if it's easier for you to look at it in the punch and cut it out and do it straight. So you kind of have two ways you can go with that. And, you know, one isn't right or wrong. It's just, you know, another way to do it. We'll leave that green open. We're going to be using that on our next card. Okay, so now I am going to pop this one up. And let me just get my dimensionals. I think 2 will be plenty on here because I'm using the large dimensionals. And I did use the edge of this panel to center this, but I put this a little higher than center, but center in the middle from side to side. And then I just put the white card insert. You know, it always makes the cards just feel more substantial, and I don't know, it just makes them look a little classy, I think. So you could probably write, you know, with a black pen or a dark purple pen and be able to see what you're writing on Highland Heather, but I like to put the centered card insert in here. Okay, so you're going to end up with 4 of these cards. And so then 4 times what would have been 3, there's going to be 12 of these. So let me just show you the 9 cards before we do our 2-step stamping with the free stamp set. I just want to show these to you. And let's just lay these down this way. So we've got these 4, right? I was just so excited, and the thing is, these are really pretty too. And I decided to do them all in purples, which I'm sure doesn't surprise you. And then we've got those 2. And then we have these 3 And there we have our 9 cards times 3 would be 27. And they're all beautiful cards. So that's just out of the card bases and the pieces provided. But plus I still have all those balsam wood things that I could use to like glue on the end of twine. And then I could put these together and tie that and use one of those balsam wood, you know, like the tree, and hang it on here and give that as a gift. So that's just another way to use it. I have all of these really nice, they're actually gold rimmed sentiment labels that I'll use for another project. And then I have all these purple pieces of vellum that I'll probably use with the painted lavender set or perennial lavender. So, you know, it's not going to go to waste. It's just going to be done differently. So, all right. But let me show you, in light of the fact that we got a free stamp set this time around, we're going to go ahead and use that to make another card. And so let's get those pieces together. And I'm just going to get out a piece of basic white. And this is the 4" by 5 1/4, but we're going to cut this down to make the kind of card that I have in mind. And we're going to be accenting that with a little garden green. So I'm going to leave this off to the side. But we're going to start out with this largest stamp. And we're going to do that in basic black. I'm sorry, tuxedo black, our memento. So this stamp set can be used, and you could just make it a black and white, you know, card. Or I'm using the memento black, and you would be able to color this in with Stampin' Blends. You could also use colored pencil and blender pen. You could use daubers, you could use watercolors, you could do so many things with this stamp because it's such a nice large image. So there we have our stamped large daisy. And then, because I said this was a 2-step stamp set, we actually have different stamps that will actually fill in the colors and the details of this. So we can start out with our leaves. And now one of the things when you have these stamps separate and you want to make sure they're going to line up when you're doing 2-step stamping. Now I already put this on here, but I am going to test if I put it on here correctly because, you know, it can go a little bit one way or the other. So you could lay the photopolymer stamp on your image and then put the block on it. It looks like I did okay with this, so that'll be fine. But you want to check it and see how it went, okay? And so I am going to ink this up. Now, because there is some detail in here, I think this garden green, the way that it is right now, is just too dark. So I'm actually going to stamp it off. And then I'm going to line it up. I'll come back and stamp. I'll show you in a minute. I just kind of need to be able to see the top of the image here. We'll hope for the best, because I am not directly over it. Okay, so that fills in the green. And then we've got another stamp that is going to be the main flower stamp. And so we're going to do that one in the Fresh Freesia. So let me get that one. And once again, I'm just going to take a peek because I did load this on here, not putting it on the flower. Yeah, it'll be fine. These were pretty big and but not too big, so you know it went pretty well. Now the Fresh Freesia I'm going to use as is here. So we'll just be lining up the petals. And then pressing that down. So the nice thing is, now this would be a wonderful way to use your MISTI or your Stamparatus, your stamp positioning device, because once you have this set up and you would put your piece of cardstock that has the black image stamped on it, you could just put it in and out and make a whole bunch of cards, and this would stay lined up, which would really be nice. So that's like a bonus if you have a stamp positioning device to make and use with your two-step stamping. Okay, now we're going to do a highlighting stamp with Berry Burst in the center. And I want to look at this too and make sure that how you can tell what this one is, the centers of these two flowers are two different sizes. So you can take that and line up the centers, and then you'll know that you're with the right, you have it the right way. And this Berry Burst is very, very dark. And so on my card when I was making my sample, I did use it full strength. I think this is going to be prettier with it not being full strength. So I'm going to stamp off with this. And then I'm going to line up the centers. And you have the detail. Isn't that pretty? It's so nice they did that for us, right? All right, and then the centers are literally the centers, and I actually put one on one side of my little A block and one on the other, but they are two different sizes as well, and I thought I would use a little wild weed in here. So we'll do the large one first. Sorry guys, I keep wanting to put it close to me, forgetting that you want to see too. Okay, and then I'll do the other side here, the smaller one. Now those could also be something that you might want to embellish, you know, with a large gem of some sort. So that could also be a choice for you. Let's see, since I had ink on both sides of this, I'm wanting to wash it off. There we go. Okay, so then let's go ahead and close this up. Now, one of the things that they provided in this stamp set, I think I told you how much I like these little dots, right? So we're going to put a little something special across this before we actually trim it down to size. So I'm going to go back with the Garden Green, and I am just going to, I'm going to make some full strength, and then I'm going to also do some stamping off, and I'm going to go up here kind of by the leaves and put some dots just kind of across here. I think I want some lighter ones there again. Darker ones right here. I just love the look of these polka dots on here. All right, I think that gives it a little bit of something there. Now I want to cut this down to make it a tighter card front, and you'll know when I show you the rest of the card why I'm doing that. So let me just go ahead and get my trimmer. And I'm just going to cut this. I'm not really going to measure. I'm just going to eye this up. And I want to make sure that I see the whole card here. So I'm going to watch. Remember, I show you how kind of the track is, and that the leaf, I cannot see it in the track. So I'm going to cut. And then I'm going to cut this down so I just give it some room below the stem. And we'll cut this one. Making sure we leave the leaf. And maybe I'll take, just a little bit off the top here. All right. So then what I'm going to do is take a piece of green cardstock, and I can center this depending on what kind of area I want. I just want this to be really thin, okay? So what I'm going to do is line it up for two sides, and I'm going to glue that. Now you can do this with any image, and then just kind of cut around it, and especially if you're just making one card, you don't have to be able to replicate it, right? Okay, so I've got that. Now I want to cut these other two edges. And so I use the track line when I'm trying to do these really little mini ones. A lot of times, if my white is right there, then it comes out okay. If you need to trim a little more, you trim a little more. But a lot of times, that will be the ticket. And let's go down this way. There we go. All right, we've got our focal image for the card front using this stamp set. So now I decided to use some of my other fun stuff I don't get to use. So I will just show you this finished card and show you kind of some of the things that I used. So I have to tell you, I was in my file with my garden green cardstock, and I had these 6x6 pieces of paper. So you know how you can get 6x6 designer series paper that matches all the colors in one of the color collections. So like garden green, I think, is probably in our Regals. If I'm wrong, please forgive me. But anyway, you get these designer series paper. Well, this is left over from a long time ago, but it looks perfect on here. So I just took a 4 by 5¼ inch. Okay. And then to make this pop and get a little sparkly ribbon, I had some of the sparkly ribbon. I think this was with some snowflake stuff before. So I just attached this to the front of the card base, tape it on the back, right? And then I tied a little knot on here. And then I decided to pop it up with the dimensionals so that looked a little special. And then I had these gems I loved. And actually, I got them on the clearance rack. They were genial gems. But look at that green, how pretty that is. So I decided to use those on this card front. You got to dig in your great supplies you've been keeping, right? And then the last thing was on the inside, I thought, how can I make this look a little special? I don't know if you remember when we could get washi tape, and these were in the colors of our Stampin' Up! Inks and cardstock. So this is actually garden green. And I haven't been using these, and I was cleaning. I told you I'm getting ready for my spring cleaning and fixing up my craft room, right? I just ran 2 lines of using this washi tape, and it was perfect. So I don't know about you, but I'm sure you have washi tape too. Anyway, that is what we could do. That's just one example of what could be done with the free stamp set, from this kit. Anyway, with that, the last 2 things I want to share with you is we're in a new month. This is Flower Fest. I hope by the end of the month, you'll know what was so cool about Flower Fest. But I'm going to be doing all kinds of things with flowers. And this month's free tutorial, Fresh as a Daisy Sweet, if you buy $50 worth of product from Plum Crazy Stamping, then you'll get this free 4-card tutorial. And you could use any other floral designs with these great card designs in here. If you like this exactly the way that it is, then the card measurements and all the stamping supplies are listed. So this will be through the end of the month. And then next Tuesday night, so this will be coming out very soon, I'm doing a flower fest, and this is making cards using flowers. This is the Zinnia set that is in the online exclusives and just 2 of the examples. And I'm going to be using designer series paper and embossing folders and showing you different ways to make the most of that for your card designs. So let me go back to this, and also I want to see if there was anything else that I missed. And, I apologize again for the beginning. It really was just opening the package and showing you what was in there. So luckily we caught the audio early enough that I think you should have all the information that you need. Kathy, I'm so glad that you're loving all of them. I will put up that banner again so that you can see if you would like the tutorials for all of these cards. These card designs could be used even if you don't have Paper Pumpkin. You could use designer series paper for the parts of the cards that I cut up the card bases for, and you would be able to make multiple cards very quickly. Pick your favorite colors and just go to town. Anyway, the tutorial and all the measurements to be able to replicate the cards that I shared tonight will be in my weekly email. So I hope that you sign up and can get that. And once again, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do so. And please leave any comments and feedback. And I appreciate knowing if you liked this by thumbs up or give me a heart, and share this broadcast with your friends. That would be awesome. Anyway, once again, I'm Tracy Rather from Plum Crazy Stamping, and it's my job to make stamping easy for you. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday. This week, you'll be able to have a free broadcast twice because I will be doing my regular Facebook Live on Wednesday at 1 p.m. Anyway, take care, friends. Bye-bye now.